So whenever this is a side note, this is not music related, but like whenever I first, it's so funny when we were in high school, like or in middle school, and I was like I had first crush on a girl. I was like, I went up to my dad and I was like, yo, Dad, I'm crushing on this girl. Like, what do I do? You know what I mean? Like, how do I like talk to this girl? And he just looks at me and he like leaves. And I'm like, yo, bro, like, what's going on? Like, and he leaves and then he comes back and he just looks at me and he goes, pretty girl shit too. and then he left again. Okay. And I was like, that doesn't help me. That is not helpful in the slightest. But then the next day, the next day, like I was there and like we were like at the
waited by the restroom.
No, and I saw and I saw her. I saw her shit. No, I knew it. I saw her and I thought about what my dad said and I was all like, you know what? They live in this. To your point, they live in this reality with me too. So I went up to her and I was like, yo, I like you. You know what I mean? But ever since then, I've never been afraid to go up to anybody. Really?
Yeah, it's a confidence thing. I totally get that.
But yeah, your favorite artist shits too.
I know you like to think your shit don't stink.
So Mars Volta, like the song. What'd you think of the song? You like it?
Song? Man. So the last few albums, it was more of like a. Okay, I see what they're kind of being more like safe about it or something. It felt like that, at least. I felt like they're taking less chances and just he's getting better at singing. It felt like or like controlling his voice, but there wasn't as many like whoa, what am I hearing weirdness like the first couple albums had. So I kind of was like, and the last album specifically was like it's cool, but it kind of felt like a different band or something. I don't know.
We kind of talked about this also with the Chili Peppers. Whenever we whenever we had that conversation about the latest album, and I listened back to that conversation and I was like, I wonder to your point about romance. Like I wonder if there's a romanticism to your own nostalgia.
Oh, sure.
About like, you know what I mean?
Examples. Those
those two bands are phenomenal. Because when we first heard them, I imagine I probably heard them in some way, shape, or form in passing from you guys also, right? Because we were in the same area. When we were young. So like,
when we were young.
Oh, when we were young. Like, there's such a romanticism to like they're so weird and then and in the moment liking the weirdness for the sake of it being weird. So was it, you know what I mean?
Because it was new, it was exciting, it was
weird, or was it that we needed something to be that weird and that's what worked
to disconnect us from norm to pop or a lot of us were
like we were into punk because it was so like anti this and anti that, but then it became like to fit into a punk rock thing you have to do this.
The irony of punk.
I'm in another box. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The irony of punk.
But then we heard these dudes and like seeing them live or like watching videos. You're like, that's punk rock. Like they're just everywhere and just like the energy is there. But the music is like jazz or something, or like jazz in the sense where it's like, who's doing what and what's happening here? But it's all working together.
The term punk rock, it ended up being like a description of it ended up being a mentality for me more so than it ended up being like
there's some bands that I think are punk that are like,
that are not punk in the genre. You know what I mean? I think about that all the time. Where like at some point I heard Stevie Ray Vaughan, I'm like, yo, that's punk rock. You know what I mean? Or like because it was just so like yo, like you have that fucking grit
in a blues box. You put him out there and he's like, I'm gonna do Hendrix too. And like you're like that already's being like off
punk
the wall.
rock, dog. Like you know what I mean? Or like
stood on his guitar and like messing shit up.
Or like in the hip hop sphere, some people are like, yo, that's punk fucking rock.
Public Enemy to me is always going to be a punk rock band.
And then some of them actually did. But Ice-T did. It wasn't a punk. Well, I guess a grunge band.
Yeah,
but it was like pretty punky.
What are they called again? They're called. I know it.
Body Count.
Body Count. Body Count.
But I always eventually once like you realize that the term like being punk rock is a mentality, so it's genreless in a way.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel like that's the true embodiment of like what punk rock is.
That's also kind of what I think of when I think of jazz too. Because like there's like for sure classical jazz.
Yeah.
But then there's like, well then you kind of throw all these other things in front of it and then so what's jazz then? Like jazz is just like a lifestyle, baby. Yeah. Or like, it's just being.
Jazz is a drug.
It's a drug. I smoked jazz before I showed up here.
Yeah, and the crazy, the even more interesting part about jazz is that it's like extremely academic.
Yeah.
So
For
then
sure,
it's
for
so then
sure.
like, but you know what I mean? Like you
Or
get
it
to,
has become.
it has become, but like even then, like Giant Steps is like,
Oh, sure.
you could analyze the shit out of it, and it's punk rock, but like it's also like
Well, I think
holy
it's
fucking
people
crap.
that were really like well versed in music. They knew all the stuff how to read and how to play, but they
Theory.
chose to do something a little bit more like off the wall and like
Indie
new,
and like
bit,
that.
yeah, like more. You go do your thing. You go do your thing. You go do your thing. Just
It was like
bring it back together.
structureless structure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all like you get 16 bars. Go.
Just
Yeah.
enough
Go.
to just
Go
enough to
and then
float away.
Yeah.
and we're not gonna give you like the actual like time or anything, but like at bar 7 is a B minor 7, so go for it.
Sure, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
You'll feel
So
it out, you'll feel it
yeah,
out,
you'll get there, and if you don't, like, sorry,
Yeah.
you know, you
Again,
you missed the
with
train.
The alchemy of a moment. That's what they're trying to write into
Sure.
the song, and
And-
like I don't know what's gonna happen here, but I set up all these chords so that something happens.
Yeah.
So let's make sure something
Yeah.
happens.
Have you guys heard like in the Giant Steps? There's a moment where the key player, the piano player solos, and you can tell he gets lost
Oh, it's the best.
because John has been practicing. You can tell like the whole Giant Step progression was probably like a practice
Yeah.
song, like where he just jams the
warm-up.
beginning, like a warm up,
Yeah, exercise, he
yeah,
does,
like a
yeah.
warm up exercise for him, like just to go through scales and like be able to like use the circle of fifths all the way around. But and then like the keyboard player is just like it's just so fast, so he's just like
Yeah.
fuck, and like you know what I mean, and you can
Yeah.
tell the moment where
I love
like
that
Well,
kind of
when
stuff.
there's a recipe to it where it's like, oh, we go to the fifths or we go to this or
Yeah.
whatever. If you miss one,
you're gone.
luck,
You're lost, man.
man.
This game over. And you can tell because and the keyboard, like at first you're like, oh, this is jazz. This sounds like jazz. And then John starts as soon as he stops, and you could just tell the mastery of it.
Yeah, yeah,
You
he's
could
like,
just tell where like
That's
where,
right, I got it,
where
I got
John
it.
is like,
I'll pick it back up, I'll pick it back up.
and he
Yeah, I
just
love
takes
it.
you through exactly what's going
I
on,
love
and
when-
you're just like, fuck, man.
That's
wanna listen
great.
to that moment.
Yeah.
You should. We'll just pull it up right now. You could tell. You could tell the moment where like the fucking thing is.
I
it's
love
so
when a
good.
drummer does that too, when it's like he messed up, but he like there's a lot of cool moments where you can tell like, did he mean to do that? He kind of just stopped. Top.
It just
You're
keeps
just like,
going.
let me get my bearings back
Drummers
together.
have to reset all the time.
Or you're like,
you know what I mean?
Let me do it again. I messed up, but I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah,
It
but, like,
became a thing. You know what I mean?
Drumming is so interesting to like watch, hear, or like experience because like the rudiments are the building blocks in,
Sure,
in like
it's
a
in there
very
no
like a
matter
literal sense. So
Yeah.
like you can just stop, wait for the count, or like you know what I
Right.
mean,
Oh,
and then
yeah,
find
yeah,
it,
yeah.
and then you could just pick it up as like
And
like
usually
rudimentarily. You
you
know what I
have
mean?
something like this, like always going.
Yeah.
So if you mess up, just get back on that.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's in
yeah.
there somewhere.
Yeah. Whereas like. If you're on guitar or if you're on any other
You hit the
instrument,
wrong note,
you
you're
know what I
like,
mean? Like, and you didn't go to the fifth or whatever the change was, or if you missed that 2-5-1 like
yeah.
entry.
Or if you're not looking and you're one off.
yeah,
Oh no!
yeah.
Then you pull out the old.
But, oh, I like
Pitch slide.
I liked
Sing
your
it in.
accent on that half step. Like that was an accident, not an accent.
Going back to the Mars Volta thing,
yeah,
though.
yeah, yeah.
I know they'll take you to all these different places, right? So hearing this new track not only made me very happy because I get some new Mars Volta, but they really embraced the Latin stuff again, which was like my favorite era of them. Because like I loved the first album a lot because it's so like a very obvious step from At the Drive-In. Still had all this punk rock or like
Yeah.
In what way? You mean like obviously different?
no, obviously that like they still have these hooks and like choruses and stuff that's
Oh,
just
I
like
see.
like just it's that post-hardcore kind of vibe. But they also were trying this like well, what's happening here? And they had some shakers going on. They got some new shit, you know. And then to hear this again, I don't know who's playing drums, and I'm excited because they always have a great drummer. And apparently they got the same first bass player back. Well, that's cool. I don't know how it's gonna continue.
Delouse, right?
Is there an album coming?
Oh,
Gotta
wait.
be, and
no,
but they don't have Ike anymore, and Ike was like a key thing, man. He really was like those keys going. So well,
Especially for Delouse.
yeah, and all of them, man. So we'll see.
I liked it.
I like
was great.
if it stays in this kind of vein or something like this, then I'm very excited for it. You know what I mean? That already sounded different than the last two albums, so
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
It is. It's fun.
it's fun and.
It sounds fun.
It's at the recording. I mean, I don't know if that's the actual final recording or somebody just leaked that or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's got a very clean, poppy recording
Definitely
sheen
pop-
to it,
yeah.
which is a little different. Some of those stuff sounds a little raw. Like the last album sounded like Anti-Mask, you know what I mean?
Oh, I
that
forgot
sounded like they were trying to be like a garage kind of band again or something,
Yeah,
which was
yeah.
cool.
It was
But-
cool to watch. In
yeah.
person.
Oh
But
yeah,
I can't say that I remember the record very well, sadly.
yeah, you know. Well, hopefully this hits a little hard. These melodies were cool.